I listened to the audiobook of The People We Hate at the Wedding by Grant Gardner, Ginger, so you don't have to, and so that I could watch the movie and bring you another book versus movie video. Welcome back, or if you are new here, welcome. My name is Katrina and I make bookish content here on this channel every week, and then movie reviews, book to movie content here at the weekend. As always, when I enter into a book versus movie video, I completely understand that when an author signs over the rights to their book, they are signing over everything. The studio can do what they want with it, change the names, change the title, change the plot, change everything about it, but I love looking at the similarities and differences and bringing you my thoughts here. So I will leave a playlist of my book versus movie videos linked up above, because they are some of my favourite kind of videos to make, even though they take a little bit longer than some others. So yes, I listened to the audiobook of People We Hate at the Wedding. Didn't love the audiobook terribly. However, I decided to pick it up so that I could watch the movie that's currently, in this country anyway, on Amazon Prime. I believe it may be a Prime original as well. And I think that when you have the Netflix and the Prime originals, overall, they generally make a good adaptation of the movie. So the casting for this movie, first of all, the casting was unexpected. There are some big names cast in this film. And yeah, definitely unexpected. I love Alison Janney. Like all day, every day, I will watch things that she's in and just be in awe of her on the screen. And so the fact that she picks up the mother role in this character, love that for her. Really enjoyed watching her in this. And then the people who play our kind of brother and sister character from the book, we've got Kristen. Oh, what's she called? She's Elsa. And then we have Ben Platt. Apparently just really bad at surnames today, and I hadn't seen them in this kind of like slightly unlikable character role, and so it was really interesting seeing them play these unlikable characters. The casting, as I say, was unexpected but really well done. I thought that they did an amazing job casting these characters and picking these actors to kind of play these characters from this book. A lot of the kind of background on the characters, that is a lot of the lead up into the actual wedding in the book, is done through the characters having conversations with other characters rather than them having chapters and chapters of describing their career history, of describing their personal history, of describing their relationship history and how they've become the slightly unlikable people that they are. And I thought that was really good. I think that some of the things that I wasn't so keen on in the audiobook was the amount of time spent on character development, and was the amount of time spent kind of showing you that you shouldn't really like these characters, because in the movie they were much more likable than they were in the book. So the character of Paul, played by Ben Platt, it's interesting because he has the most kind of change in his, not really his character, but his situation. So his boyfriend in the book is quite different to his boyfriend in the film. The kind of key events that happen in the book still happen in the film, but his boyfriend's name is changed, his boyfriend's job is changed, the kind of way his boyfriend interacts with him is quite different in the film than it is in the book. And you kind of definitely side more on Paul's side than you do on the boyfriend's side. Whereas in the book, I think because Paul is so unlikable, it's easier to side with the boyfriend than it is to side with Paul. And then Paul has a patient who he is helping through some OCD issues in the book. And she changes quite a lot in the film. And she gives Paul some advice in the book. And it happens so much earlier on in the film than it does in the book. It has quite an impact on the story. And then we see some of other Paul's patients in the book. Obviously, you always have time to kind of do more detail in the book than you do in the film. But I felt like some of those patients were key information to Paul's character and where Paul is heading to in the end of the story. And so it was interesting that they were kind of cut completely. Even though I've sort of said that I found that I liked the characters a little bit more in the film than I did in the book, their level of brattiness and, whiny whinginess that makes them so unlikable in the book is elevated in the film. I think because we can see it and we can hear it and we can see instantly without having to read on in the page that the impact that it's having on the characters around them, I think that's where the brattiness level is just elevated. And I liked it and I was here for it, definitely. The book, when you are reading it, listening to it, feels like a kind of general fiction book. It might be something that gets talked about at a book club. It's definitely kind of out of my comfort zone genre-wise. However, the film is 100% a rom-com. It is very much about that wedding. It is very much about their relationships. It is about their relationship with their mother. It is about their relationship with potential romantic partners, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. And so the film definitely is labelled a rom-com, whereas the book, I would say, is more general fiction. It looks like it could be a rom-com, but it's definitely not uplifting, and it's hard to kind of get invested in any romance when you don't like the characters. There's a couple of other differences with Alice. So Alice definitely is more likeable in the film, a bit like Paul, but Alice more so, even though she's more bratty. It's crazy. However, I found myself rooting a little bit more for her, and she has a character come in who does not exist in the book. And I think that this is why I found myself liking Alice a little bit more. In the book, we just sort of see her relationship with Paul, we see her relationship with her work colleagues, and we see her relationship with her mother and her stepsister, who they're all going to the wedding of. And so I think the fact that we have this extra person for her to have that interaction and have that relationship with, I think really helps her cause. She kind of helps make it a bit more of a rom-com than the book is. She also stays at the Langham Hotel and not Claridge's Hotel, which I thought was interesting. Maybe they couldn't get the rights to use the name Claridge's. They were able to use the outside of the Langham. It's always interesting where that kind of change of location or change of place has come from. Speaking of location and place, this is an IMDb fact, but when they end up in London eventually, the exact same taxi keeps picking them up multiple times. So the taxi will take them one place and then it'll come back for them and take them back again. And then the next day they'll have the exact same taxi with the exact same number plate. Like I say, I'm not claiming that I noticed it, but it was on IMDb, and so when I saw it, I went back and looked, and yes, indeed, it is the same taxi. So that was very, very interesting. Speaking of the stepsister that they go to London to the wedding of, her character is quite different as well. We know that she has a different dad from Alison and Paul. Not Alison, Alice and Paul, but Alice and Janny is their mother. And she is definitely more likeable, and she is also more kind of like forthright in the film. She has a lot more of her own voice. She has a lot more of her own personality. She has a lot more opinions in the film than she does in the book. She's a bit of a shrinking violet in the book, and she's kind of a result of the brattiness of the other two, and she is kind of in the background. She's basically just the cause of all their issues and the cause of the, reason why we're going to London for this wedding. Whereas she's more developed and more her own character in the film. And her kind of character feels a lot more rom-com-y as well, which I thought was nice. I mean, I've talked about this, but it needs to be explicitly said. We get to the wedding a lot quicker in the film, and that's what helps make it feel a lot more like a rom-com. I would say I got to nearly 90% of the audiobook before we were actually at the wedding and all the drama of the wedding takes place, which, let's face it, a wedding is great fodder for bookish drama. But I felt like there was so much character building and character background and kind of the journey of Paul and the mother, and the journey of Paul and Alice, and the journey of Paul and his boyfriend and Paul's patient, and then Alice and her work, and Alice and trying to fix Paul, and Alice and trying to help her mother, and then what happened to Alice previously. And speaking of which, what happened to Alice previously, different in the film than in the book. She has a lot more sort of depth of character in the book, which I think helps you. I'm not sure if you're meant to like her more in the book or not. I'm not sure if it was a conscious thing, but because she's got a bit more of a shallow character in the film, I think maybe that's why I liked her more in the film. And then the wedding itself, because we get to the wedding quicker, then some of the interactions that we might have seen take place out with the wedding in the book, or in kind of like historical flashbacks in the book, we get to see those character interactions at the wedding. And that's where kind of Alice's storyline is very different as well. That's where Paul's storyline is quite different. And that's where Eloise's storyline is also quite different. And so therefore that impacts on everything. The fact that it's more of a rom-com, the fact that we get more character interaction at the wedding and as a result of the wedding and during the wedding and after the wedding and because of the wedding, the fact that we get to the wedding quicker means that this can happen. And so some of that character building that took place in the book as just character building, we get to see their characters shine through at the wedding because we get more time at the wedding as well. And so I think you can probably tell, but once again, I hope you're sitting down, I definitely preferred the film over the book. I wouldn't thank you for having to read the book again. I didn't take pleasure in reading the book. I was trying to get through it so that I could watch the film. And so therefore I very much preferred the way the film was done. It was more of a rom-com, which you know is my jam. And so I was always going to like the film better if it has been done as more of a rom-com. But yeah, I think you can tell the reasons why I preferred the film over the book. I would recommend the film, I would not recommend the book, and there you have it. As always, if there is a book to movie adaptation that you would like me to read, listen and watch, whether it's a movie or a TV show, do let me know in comments. I am very excited about the news about the Geek Girl adaptation. Love Geek Girl so much, have always loved Geek Girl, and so I'm so excited to see it come alive on the Netflix screen. So yes, anything other than that, do let me know in comments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, please make sure you are subscribed and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future bookish content and future movie reviews. I do have some more book versus movie videos lined up for you, so you're not going to want to miss out on those. And yes, as always, thank you so much for watching. I will see you with my next video.